What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the show. So I didn't get a chance to cover this last week. I was in transition back from Colombia, and so I want to cover it today. And this is something, and I'm going to start doing more videos about this topic because we're in a real serious time in this country, in the world, really. Things are really getting bad when it comes to economies, and we're seeing what's going on in the UK. We all know what's going on in the US right now with inflation and everything else. And so I want to talk about something that the Federal Reserve said, and this was last Wednesday. And we really need to pay attention to this. And this is for everyone. This is for people who are working right now. This is for people who are on a fixed income, who are receiving Social Security, who are retired. This is very serious stuff, and I am going to keep putting out content talking about this because this is one of those deals where we really need to wake up, because if we don't, we're going to be in a real bad shape. And so some of these things can be avoided, and so that's why I want to talk about it today. But first off, you guys can do me a favor. Please hit the like button. Also, please subscribe to the channel and hit that little bell notification. That way you'll get notified anytime I put out a video. I do daily videos, so if you hit the bell notification, you're going to get notifications anytime I put the videos out. Now, I am going to start doing 2 videos per day. Okay, so usually I do 1 video per day, but I am going to up that. Now that I'm back in the US, I have everything set up so I can do more videos. So I'm going to start pumping out 2 videos a day, maybe 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon. And so make sure that you support both videos. And if you guys don't know, and I'll talk about this really quickly. Usually when I put out a video in the morning and then I put out another video in the afternoon, the video that I put out in the afternoon pretty much kills the video that I put out in the morning. So that video doesn't get any more views. So if you could do me this favor, if you see that there are 2 videos out and you haven't watched those videos yet, watch both videos, because if you don't watch both videos, the morning video, YouTube usually will it will kill the video and it won't go anywhere. So if you can support both videos, that would really help get the word out to as many people as possible. Okay, so let me go ahead and switch over to this article here. And this was CNN Business. And so the article reads, the Fed's fight against inflation could cost the U.S. 1.2 million jobs. So this is what I'm talking about when it comes to the Federal Reserve raising interest rates. I've been talking about this for a while, and I've been targeting and kind of saying how this would affect people who are receiving Social Security, veterans, people who are on a fixed income. But today we're going to talk about just the grand scheme. I mean, the way this is all playing out is very dangerous for everyone. And so the Federal Reserve, they anticipate, and they say this, they anticipate that we're going to see an uptick in loss of jobs, layoffs. Okay, so right now the August was 3.7. Okay, that was the unemployment rate. They're anticipating it going up to 4.4% by next year, and so that's bad, right? And they say it could go as even high as 5%. Okay, so that it could go as high as 5%. So at 4.4%, we're looking at, if things stay the same when it comes to our jobs market, we're looking at 1.2 million people being unemployed. People who are currently working being unemployed by next year. Now, if they hit that 5%, then we're looking at 2.2 million. Okay. 2.2 million people being unemployed. So this is a real bad situation, and it's not going to get any better anytime soon. Okay, so right now, if you're thinking, okay, inflation is looks like it might be at the top and it might be going down, things aren't going to get better anytime soon. And we're going into the holidays. We're going into the shopping period. And I don't know what that's going to look like, to be honest with you. With inflation at all-time highs, I don't know how many people are going to be out there shopping as much as they have been in the past. But what I do know is you are going to have people shopping. Okay, right now there are not too many people shopping. And you see this in the department stores. They're starting to struggle. We saw the situation with FedEx and just a week and a half ago or 2 weeks ago. So we're starting to see these companies come out with their earnings reports and saying, look, we're doing bad. And so the anticipation is people are going to start losing their jobs. And I just talked about this quiet quitting, and I talked about some other stuff when it comes to people and how they are in the workplace. And if you guys don't know, quiet quitting is pretty much you're not actually quitting your job, but you're not going above and beyond at your job. You're just going to work. You're working your 40-hour week. You're going home, and you're not doing anything extra. You're not trying to get promoted, or you're not trying to stand out. You're basically just trying to be quiet and just do as little as possible to get by, basically. And so with that, now we're looking at a situation where people can start losing their jobs, or people, the prediction is people will start losing their jobs. And you better believe the quiet quitters are probably going to be the first ones to lose their jobs, because if you're not going above and beyond and the company's looking at you thinking, okay, well, let's go ahead and get rid of this person because this other person's doing 2 jobs where this person's only doing 1. And it's cutthroat. Okay. That's the way it goes when it comes to business. And so, how is this going to affect everyone? And I mean, basically, when you look at it, of course, it's going to affect the people who lose their jobs. But how is it going to affect everyone else? People who are receiving Social Security, veterans, how is it going to affect them? Well, when it comes to Social Security, the Social Security program is run by people who are working, paying into the payroll tax. That payroll tax money is what goes to pay for the Social Security benefits. So if you have less people in the workforce, you're still going to be able to pay for those benefits. But then we have to start talking about the trust fund, because we have a trust fund that could be running out of money in 12 to 13 years. And so if you have less money coming in, if you have less people working, so you have, when it comes to the payroll tax, less money coming into Social Security, then you have to take more money from the trust fund. And if you're taking more money from the trust fund, that means the trust fund is going to run out of money a lot quicker. And so this is a big problem. This is a fear. And we saw kind of we saw a change, at least, and these are all estimates when it comes to this, the trust fund. And we saw this during the pandemic, because they were talking about the trust fund, and instead of the trust fund running out of money in 2035 because of the pandemic, because of there weren't as many people in the workforce, they were saying it could drop down to 2034 or 2033. So this is a very serious situation. And it's serious for everyone, people losing their jobs as well as people on a fixed income. Because if we get to that point where now the federal government is going to have to do something when it comes to the trust fund a lot sooner, well, that's going to be a big problem. And some politicians don't want to move forward when it comes to Social Security. They don't want to move forward when it comes to a trust fund. And so we could be looking at a situation where we're going to see that 20% reduction. Okay. And that's the way that it would work. So when it comes to Social Security is not going bankrupt. The trust fund is running out of money. The trust fund will go bankrupt. They're I won't say 2 separate things, because the money all goes to the same place, but you have a trust fund and then you also have money that's coming in. Okay. It's just like if you're working in a job and when you work in a job, you get a paycheck, but then you also have savings. And let's say you have to take some of that savings, just a little bit of that savings to pay your bills every month. But then at some point you're going to run out of money in your savings. And when you run out of that money in your savings, now you're going to be in a situation where you're not going to have that money to pull from anymore. And that's what they're doing with the trust fund. They're just pulling the money from that trust fund. But when that money runs out, they're not going to have any more money to pull. And that's when people receiving Social Security are going to see that 20% decrease if the federal government doesn't do anything. And so that's one issue. Now, when it comes to just overall, if people start losing their jobs, that means that people are going to be buying less. That means companies are going to go under. And it's just, it's going to be a domino effect. And that's when the federal government's going to have to step in again. Okay. And I say step in again because we saw this during the pandemic. They stepped in, they had all these different stimulus stuff going around, PPP loans, EIDL loans, stimulus checks, all that stuff. That's when the federal government will have to step in. And that's not, I mean, in a way, you might think, oh, well, this is great. They're going to step in, they're going to put out stimulus checks and PPP loans and all this stuff. But that means that inflation is going to rise even higher. So that is the danger. Right now, the Federal Reserve is trying to cool off our economy and bring down inflation, but that could push us into, and it looks like it's going to push us into a recession. And when it pushes us into a recession, people who are currently working right now, 1.2 million is the estimate, they're going to lose their jobs. And that is going to push us deeper into a recession. And then the federal government's going to have to step in. Now, inflation is still high. It'll drop a little bit. But if you have a lot of people losing their jobs, inflation, it's going to stop at some point. Okay. And I go to this a lot when it comes to rent and things like that. If someone raises your rent during inflation, they're usually not going to drop the rent. It's just the only way that would happen is if everyone loses their job and there's just no way that there's just no demand. Okay. So if there's no demand for the apartments, of course, they're going to have to drop rent. But that's the only situation that I could see where they'll be dropping rent. And so in the short term, we're going to be looking at a situation where inflation will still be, I'm not going to say it's going to be 8% or 9%. Where it is right now, 8.3% CPI. I'm not going to say it's going to be that high, but it could drop down and still be over the target. The target is 2%. That's where the Federal Reserve wants inflation. But it might not ever get there because before that, we go into a recession, people are losing their jobs, and then the Federal Reserve has to step in and say, okay, we need to start printing money again, just like they're doing in the UK. They're starting to print money again. And that is where it gets really, really dangerous because you start printing money again, you start stimulating the economy again to boost up our economy, and then you're going to have inflation go even higher. So this is a very, very dangerous time. And I tell all my friends, family, you need to start saving. You have to have savings, and a lot of people don't have any money in a savings account. You need to do that. You need to have some emergency money on hand. You should have 6 months of rent or mortgage already. But it's a very, very serious time. And this is when you really need to focus on saving money and not spending. And I know it's hard because of inflation and all the stuff that's going on, but you have to have a budget now. You have to have a budget because the Federal Reserve they're telling you, look, we are pushing this economy into a recession. Our goal is to cool off the economy, and cooling off the economy means that people are going to lose their jobs. And so you could be one of those people who's working in a job right now and you lose your job and you have no savings and you have no way of earning any extra income. And I know there are a lot of different ways to earn money now, and I highly encourage you to look into some of those ways, working from home, doing different things, doing delivery services, there are a variety of different things that you can do. I personally would tell people, look, find things that you can do online. Find things that you can do online. You get off work, you go home, you work on something online. That's the kind of stuff that I always recommend people do. Find different sources of income because you're going to need to have these different sources of income coming in. Because if you don't, you're really going to be, I mean, we saw this during the pandemic as well, where you had people who've been working in a job for 15, 20 years. They lose that job and they don't have anything to fall back on. They have nothing. So learn a skill. One of the things that I did, and this is a little, I mean, I started photography. I started taking pictures. And I always know if stuff got really bad, I could take pictures. Okay. Now, in a situation where our economy is pretty much tanking, it's going to be hard because not too many people are going to be out there saying, "Hey, can you take pictures of my family?" Or people might be putting off weddings and things like that. But for the most part, learn something, learn a trade, learn how to do something, learn how to edit video or something like that. Things that you can do from your home. They send you the video, you edit the video up, and you send it out, send it back to them. translate videos. And I talk a lot about video stuff because that's what I do. I do a lot of video stuff. But I'm just saying, you need to find something else other than your job. Your regular job, you need to find something else. And if you're on a fixed income right now is the time to learn something. And you might be older and you might be thinking, you know what? I just don't have the patience to do this, or I just don't want to do it. I'm just saying, we're going into a recession right now. We're going into a time where things are really, really going to get bad for everyone. And you don't want to be that person that is at the bottom end of that, trying to figure out how you're going to eat and how you're going to pay your bills and pay your electricity and all that. So I don't like to do videos that are all doom and gloom, but we have to face reality. And when we're seeing things, we're seeing this right in front of us. The Federal Reserve is not making they're telling us exactly what they anticipate is going to happen. And if it does happen and people start losing their jobs, it's going to be a domino effect and everybody is going to feel it. Everyone will feel it. And one more thing I want to talk about, and you guys know me, and I just got back from Colombia, and I've been talking a lot about Colombia and other places as well, Thailand, and some of these places that are less expensive to live. And the main reason that I talk about that on this channel is because that's another option. And one of the things that I always focus on when I travel, or if I'm in another country for a period of time, I always focus on the infrastructure and I focus on how much things cost. Because there could be a time where I decide, you know what? It's better for me if I'm in Colombia for 6 months, because right now in the US, things aren't good. Things are too expensive. And if our economy gets even worse and people are getting laid off and they're not working, and it's this domino effect that we anticipate seeing, then maybe it is better to be somewhere else. And so I always tell you guys that could be an option. That could be an option for some. It might not be Colombia. It could be the Philippines. It could be Thailand. But you can go somewhere else where your dollar, and hopefully the dollar stays strong, where your dollar will go much further. And so it's just an option. I just like to throw that out there, and you guys know how I feel about this. But you'd be surprised. You go to some of these different countries, you'd be surprised at how similar it is to the U.S. Let's just put it that way. The U.S., we are the blueprint for a lot of countries, and you'll find that out when you start traveling these different countries. You'll see that things are kind of the same way that they are in the U.S. I mean, one of the funny things that I saw when I was in Colombia is I would go to the malls, and malls, by the way, in Colombia they're huge. The mall scene is big in Colombia. It's not as big in the U.S. anymore. It used to be, but now the mall scene is big. And so when you go to the malls, and I don't like shopping, but if I'm with friends and they want to go shop a little bit, I might go, shopping with them. And if you go into these clothing stores and you see the clothes, all the clothes it's all English writing. Okay, so if you see stuff in writing, it's English writing. And when you see musical groups, bands, hip hop, rap, all that stuff, it's all from the U.S. They get so much stuff from the U.S. in these other countries. And so they look to the U.S. for infrastructure. They look to the U.S. for trends and all of that. And so when you go to these other countries, you're like, wow, this is just like the U.S. And they got McDonald's and Burger King and Starbucks and Subway and Pizza Hut and Domino's and Papa John's. They have all the same stuff that they have in the U.S. is in some of these other countries. So I just found that interesting. Even the funniest thing is when I went to Costa Rica, they had an Applebee's restaurant. And I just thought that was the weirdest thing. Applebee's restaurant and Denny's. I'm thinking, what? Why is this here? But they're getting their influence from the U.S. You have a lot of expats, a lot of Americans that have moved to Costa Rica. And so that's why they've opened up these restaurants there. So it's almost like being at home. So I'm going to stop talking about that. But when it comes down to it, I don't like to do the doom and gloom videos, but I have to bring this to your attention because we are in a situation right now that we've never seen before. And it's only going to get worse. It's not going to get better anytime soon. And you're going to see, I mean, there's going to be some suffering, okay? And so just be prepared. That's the main thing that I have to say here. Be prepared. Know that this is coming. You could be one of the people who are working right now and not have your job in 6 months from now. And so I'm just going to leave this video at that. I will continue to do research when it comes to this topic. And if I see more things, I will do some more videos, just kind of giving you guys a heads up of what's going on, what these politicians are saying, what the Federal Reserve is saying, what we're finding out, what the banks are saying, what we're finding out about this whole economy and what's going on. So if you guys have any questions, post them down below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.